Got to jump in with some bite down boxing talk. Get ready to head out here and mow this lawn, so I'm not gonna stay on here real long. But Demetrius Andrade and Team Andrade, Team Boo Boo, those guys can't win. He can't win, and it reminded me him showing up and crashing the Canelo fight or the Canelo press conference, as we've seen the video out there. It was said that he was being disrespectful or whatever. What's good, Finkley? What's good? It reminded me of this lyric by the Locks. I cannot think of the song and I can't think of that bar, but it was Styles P. And he said something about you get a way better message if I deliver it in person. Or, I come to your home and give you the message. I ain't leaving no voicemail. So I think, his hand is somewhat forced to go and say whatever. And the other thing that we can't overlook here and can't forget, good to hear from you, man. I was thinking about you the other day, like, where's Finkley been? But we can't disregard the fact that Canelo got disrespectful with him first. From the clip that I saw, the first thing that that Boo Boo said was, "I'm a big fan," and Canelo told him, "I know you are." I mean, so the gloves come off at that point, right? Like, I'm in here trying to be humble and be respectful. If you go to the fights and you're back there in the media area, everybody that has credentials can get back into the room and stand around and and be in there. And where are we with boxing that fighters can't challenge one another and can't get disrespectful? What's up, Latours? What part of the game is that? Has boxing gotten too corporatized or whatever that you can't even go to a man and you're not touching him? He ain't say nothing about his wife. He didn't say his event was trash. He just said, "Man, let me get my shot." So Canelo says, you haven't fought anybody. What's up, Latours? And I think it's something to what you're saying. I do. I just think Canelo knows that he doesn't have to do anything with Demetrius Andrade. But y'all hit the link. Demetrius got support. Yeah. So the thing is, though, can Demetrius try to do things the right way, the respectful way, and go up to 168 and get the fight? Now, the only thing is, it's probably going to be pushed to the side for the simple fact that the undisputed fight is what's trying to be made. So typically, a unification fight would trump, any kind of mandatory situation. But is that what Demetrius Andrade needs to do? And it's also, this whole situation is emblematic of how garbage middleweight is and has been for the longest. It also speaks to the fact that Canelo Alvarez has been around 2 or 3 different guys for like 5 or 7 years or something, and those fights just haven't been made. And during some of those stints, some of these guys have had titles. And here it is, you face Canelo fights Billy Joe Saunders, who hadn't fought anybody in the last 2 or 3 years. I appreciate that. So I don't know what Demetrius Andrade can do. I mean, to sit here and say that he's a trash fighter, Canelo said something like, "You're a horrible fighter." How can you beat a dude 9 rounds or 8 rounds, maybe tie another round and then drop 3? But how could you do that against Liam Williams and you're completely trash? So he's just in a bad situation where there's no push for him. There's no, he's a world champion. He's undefeated, but these guys are sitting around waiting until the guy gets old. I mean, he is 33, 34, 33 or something. So he has to go out here and make some noise and be disruptive and, try to state the case. I mean, if you can't piss somebody off enough to fight you, what more can happen? And on top of that, when him and Billy Joe Saunders were scheduled to fight, Billy Joe Saunders messed that fight up. A lot better than Rocky fielded. But Billy Joe Saunders messed that fight up by the substance that he tested positive for. And then a couple years later, he's the one that actually gets the fight that everybody wanted. So boxing is just it's frustrating. And for a couple of these different guys, what up, Junior? Yeah, a couple of these different guys who are locked out for some of these stupid ass reasons and what do you call it? In baseball, they have them unwritten rules. It's trash, man. And so, the one thing that we have to take from this weekend, though, the one thing, the silver lining is that, and I've seen some other people out there, coin it as the European tour for Canelo, that this fight right here should bring that whole segment of his career to an end. And middleweight historically bad right now. You got to go up and fight a top 10 super middleweight because Canelo said he's staying there. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing for him and Charlo. Middleweight is dead. It's been dead. I mean, that's how Triple G got to 20, 21, whatever it was, title defenses or whatever. It's been trash. Honestly. And this is, just totally off the cuff, but I'm of the opinion that I think 160 is kind of where you start getting different athletes who probably bulk up another 20, 25 pounds, and you're playing football or something, or you're playing other sports at that point. I think that 147 and below, you got that high concentration of guys because those guys really don't carry the weight to go up and do other things. At a height, lightweight and down, we're not talking about 6 feet, 6'2" guys and whatnot. But I think middleweight is kind of that cutoff where it tends to lose its athletes to other sports. But like I said, that's just my observation. I could be totally wrong. But yeah, for Demetrius Andrade, man, what else is he supposed to do? You sitting there, they can't put the Triple G fight together for you. There's no clamoring, there's no push, there's no nothing for Triple G to do anything. So that's one fight that's off the table. We know the whole situation with Charlo. There's no movement, there's no pressure there to do anything because of the promotional and the network affiliations and whatnot. So nothing there. Top Rank is doing nothing there with Murata, who's been elevated to WBA champion or whatever. So middleweight is just sitting there with guys just standing around. So, absent of there being any kind of push for a fight between Andrade and Charlo. And that's another funny thing. Triple G is not at super middleweight either, but they're still mumbling and grumbling about him being in the mix for the third fight with Canelo. But again, with Charlo and Boo Boo, is like, screw those two guys. They haven't done nothing. They don't deserve a fight. But what has Triple G done besides a bullshit defense against Zaramita and then sitting around for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever it is? So I'm with Team Andre, man. Go in there. He didn't throw any chairs around. The man called him a bum and said, fuck you to him first, right? And then they responded. They were just in there trying to make an argument or state a case for the fight. So it probably doesn't get them anywhere. But I think, you're on the same, you were, now that Canelo, that the relationship with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn is kind of up in the air. We'll see what happens. But again, man, I don't think the dude can be disrespectful enough. Like, I'm running out of time. But that's the thing. If you drop the belt, Um, how does the WBO, now that he beat Billy Saunders, the WBO enforce that fight? We see Shakur Stevenson dropped his featherweight belt and went up to 130 and still has been waiting to see, waiting to get a fight with Jamel Herring. That's still not really ordered or anything. So it's all messy, man. But again, I think it's, for Demetrius Andrade, I'm getting ready to go out here and cut this grass. But you can't sit here and let these people, stab you and tell you to be quiet about being in pain. I mean, speak your mind, do what you got to do, and be disruptive. And keep crashing the events. I mean, keep crashing Canelo's events, and defending yourself. But that's also, in closing, that's also the thing with Demetrius. For the people to continue to press, to continue to talk about what he is and what he isn't. He's a horrible fighter. He looks bad, so on and so forth. This is why, when you're knocking down guys like Keeler and who was the last dude? I'm drawing a complete blank. Oh, Liam Williams. That's why when you're knocking these dudes down in the first, second, third round and whatnot, man, you really got to dig in deep and really be as savage as what we're seeing from Canelo with some of these dudes who we starting to question their validity as world-class fighters, but you got to get them out of there. You got to figure out a way to get these guys out of there and avoid going 12 rounds so that they can't use that against you. You got to make it happen. So, it's unfortunate that he kind of ran out of gas a little bit down the stretch with Liam Williams, but it's not like he ever lost control of that fight. So, it's unfortunate, man. It's a shitty aspect in boxing. Like I said, if he drops the belt and goes up, what kind of bullshit does he have to deal with? They make you fight somebody else or some kind of eliminator or something, or any number of different moves could be made. And then you lose your, for your guarantee. You lose your money that you make fighting as a world champion. I'm imagining that's in somebody's contract. So if you drop that belt, does that affect your pay? And lastly, very lastly, for real, Jamal Charlo, I believe it was Big Charlo, to come out and then we get people who support or endorse what he's talking about, that you and your dad are broke and begging for fights or some shit. Why are you talking about this man's money? I'm assuming that that DAZN has paid Andre fairly well for being over there, or he wouldn't have re-upped with them. But to sit here and throw money around in the dude's face, what is that about? I mean, you have the worst. We need to support all American boxers. I agree. But you have the worst. You have the worst opponent scheduled right now in Juan Montiel or whatever his name is. Like, you shouldn't even be speaking. And then he's the one that hopped on the plane to go to where he went to the Canelo fight with can't think of my man's name. Oh, with Yildirim. He hops on the plane and documents himself traveling to Florida to go to that fight, and he didn't even show up on nothing. It was like he never even went there. He didn't make it onto the broadcast. He didn't pop up in the press conference. It was like he just went and attended the fight with the other 17,000 people that were there. But you want to come on and disrespect the man and his father, and then you got Montiel. They must have paid him good because he hasn't grown in notoriety at all. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm not trying to make this a PBC thing, but I mean, they've paid the Charlo brothers well, and in particular, specifically, they've paid Jamal well, I would assume. But what has he really been doing since the J-Rock fight? I mean, Brandon Adams, Hogan, not Hulk Hogan, whatever Hogan, the little Australia Hogan, and then and now Montiel. I mean, and coming off of Derevianchenko. Like, why aren't you beating the table? Why aren't you saying more to PBC management that y'all got me out here down bad? I just did a pay-per-view event with my brother, co-headline a pay-per-view event with my brother, and I get an opponent like Derevianchenko. In my next fight, you send me Montiel? Like, what? How does that make sense? So again, you know, this is a dude who, in my opinion, you know, you're a 2-division champion. You should be working on figuring out how to get you a unification fight and getting it done. But that's another story. Hey, let me get out here and cut this grass, man, get my wife off my back. I hope y'all had a good weekend with the fight, man. I thought boxing looked pretty good in terms of being on the big stage. I said this a number of times on the pre-fight stuff that I was talking about. You know, there really was no defense of the undercard. Definitely got to keep the grass low. But it was no defense of the undercard. But like I said, there was an injury with Julio Cesar Martinez. I thought he would have been great on there, but that didn't happen. The Davis brothers ended up on the YouTube portion of the card. Mark Castro was also on there. You know, it's no defense of it. But I think 73,000 fans in there. I thought it looked good on TV. I thought the crowd support during the fight and the engagement, I thought it was straight. And I think after the fact, you know, ESPN and Fox Sports, I think once they saw the highlight with the eye issue for Billy Joe Saunders, I think they came on and gave it some light, and you know, boxing was king of the hill for a Saturday night. So we'll see what happens. Hey, y'all, have a phenomenal day. Hit that like button for me if you like the way any of the information is being presented. You know, become a subscriber to the channel. Let me get on out of here, man. Peace.